Grab a bowl of popcorn, folks, because we've got much to offer you. Welcome to the Northup Sessions. Hello folks, Jim MESSINA with VintageDrumsTalk.com. Once again, I'm here with a very special guest today that you've already seen in many videos from Oneonta to New York. The Northup Drums Museum is a fantastic museum full of vintage drums from 1920s, 30s, 40s. It's great. You've seen some of them already. Plus, there's a bunch of sound effects. I gotta tell you, today is special because I've got the man right here in the studio with me. Very unusual happening. I'm proud to present to you folks and the whole vintage drum community, Mr. Tim Northup. Tim,
thanks, Jim. Great to be here today.
I'll tell you, we finally did it.
Yeah.
We've been saying that we're going to get together and we're going to do a bunch of sessions here, a bunch of segments. So, Tim and I would like to formally welcome you to the Northup Sessions. There's a million things to talk about. You did this museum. I believe you bought, what, an estate or something?
I collected a few trap kits before this. I started buying snare drums, as everybody does, because that's easy. And then a few, I was attracted to the painted head kits. I love those. So I bought a couple of those, had a few of those in trap kits, and studied the catalogs and learned what went with them and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had an opportunity. Well, I made a page called 1920s, 30s Vintage Trap Kits and Sound Effects, and it's on Facebook. It's a very active group. A lot of you are members, and I made that page to talk about and kind of stir up the community on this stuff that you and I love, these 20s drums. We love them. So made that page, and a man reached out to me and said, I have a collection of these that I don't need anymore in Texas.
Uh-huh.
So I'm in New York, so Texas is a long ways. So I made the deal, sent a truck to get them. I bought a huge collection. There were over a dozen trap kits in there, probably 20 or 30 snare drums, sound effects, cymbals. It was a big deal, and it kind of.
So that basically, constitutes, enough stuff to start a museum. But I got to tell you, I'm so proud of you because you have completed, or are still working on, but basically completed what I set out to do 20 years ago, when I started being a collector, you say, I want one of everything. Oh my God.
I want two of everything.
Yeah. Tim has been known as, what's the new nickname?
Bob Myers calls me two for Tim. And I go, what are you calling that for? He goes, you have two of everything in this place. I like doubles.
It's funny, a lot of the prominent collectors now, just to get onto nicknames, you've got two for Tim. Mike Curator has his reputation as being known as wanting to buy things in sets. That means if he gets the 5.5, he wants the 5, the 4.5, the 6.5, and blah 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 till he's got every one that was ever made. And he's achieved that. He's known for that. Tim is known for his twofers. Joe Lawama is known for his saying of, excellent to mint. So it's funny, how the prominent collectors, they get these reputations. And Tim is certainly building his reputation now. You've already seen Tim presenting his museum right there up in Oneonta, New York. The family barn or the family farm.
Yes, it's housed in a dairy barn that was my grandparents'. We renovated it, obviously, but it's a great space to house drums because it's low ceilings. We did tile floors, and it's like a studio. We've had people come and record there without any, just some mics and not really any. It's like a sound studio.
And from what I understand, the acoustics
are wonderful.
They just happen to be great.
Yeah, they do.
Can't believe it. Well, that's great. And you've had some celebrities visit you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really catching on because, you'd be surprised, folks, how many celebrity drummers are actually into what you and I are into and Tim is into. 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Buddy Carlos is a good example. His Cheap Trick fame, everybody knows him for that. But never once, I think maybe once I referred to Cheap Trick when I was interviewing him over the years. But I know him as Bunny Carlos or Venezuela now, as he calls himself. But as an uber collector, a highly respected, prominent member of the vintage drum community. And there are a lot of guys out there that you're not aware of. They're very famous. They've played with everybody, and yet most of them love a good Black Beauty. And we're going to be talking about Black Beauties today. So why don't we get right into it, Tim? They've already seen much of your museum because he glanced through that. Remember how fast he was? I was flabbergasted when I was watching those first five or six segments.
Well, we did a walking tour today. Since we're not in the museum, we're going to do a little virtual tour. I've got some photos of the museum, and we've loaded them up on a computer that I'm going to be using here, and then we've got a screen behind us, a monitor that you'll be able to see the photos. Jim will drop some in of close-ups, but we can kind of just go through and talk about what the museum's about, what's there, because a lot of people don't really know how much is actually there.
All right, everybody, let's get right into the meat of it. Here we go. Let's take a look from the man himself, Tim Northup, and the Northup Drums Museum. What have you got to show us, Tim?
So we can do a little virtual tour of the photos that I brought of trap kits and things that you're going to see if you actually can visit the museum in upstate New York. So here's this is a Leedy head, but it's on a Ludwig kit. And I used to say, how did a Leedy head get on a Ludwig kit? Well, I found the answer to that by buying some books from Rob Cook, both the Leedy Topics and the Ludwig Drummer. You go through those books and they're actual pages from the newsletters they put out. Remember, Kahn bought Leedy and Ludwig in 1929 when the stock market crashed. They combined the companies, still called, Leedy was still its own, Ludwig was its own, but they were made in the same factory. So we're seeing in that Ludwig Drummer, Leedy heads on Ludwig drums. And this is a newfound thing that we were just talking about.
Interesting.
With Rob, and he's putting out some new information about this.
I'm waiting to see that, and you're going to know it as soon as I know it. But a perfect example right here is this head. But later on, we've got some of the things, if you guys remember, in my collection, I had a very interesting Leedy head, but it was mounted on a Kahn bass drum. That got sold to the Northup Drums Museum, of which I'm very proud. Literally 90% of the very rare drums that I had and examples went to Tim. He and I just clicked, and it couldn't be in a better place. I'm really glad it's in your hands. But it was a good example of the Kahn Leedy era that Tim is talking about.
Right.
What's the name of this head?
So this is called Moonlight Silhouette. You got the moon. You got a couple here with the trees and the silhouette background, and it's on a Ludwig mahogany shell bass drum. And in this picture, before I realized, I put a black Elite snare drum with it just for the photo.
It was a Leedy.
Because I said, well, it's Leedy and Ludwig mixed, obviously, but it's not. It's really all Ludwig. But you've got a low boy in here. You've got a set of tempo blocks. You've got a trap table, and you've got a Chinese tom. So
I'm noticing we have a...
That's a Ludwig and Ludwig sizzle cymbal with the rivets in it, and Nick White actually knows how to play that. We all do.
I had one. A friend bought it for me.
They sound terrible unless you play them right.
And I used to sit there and go psh,
and it goes psh, terrible.
Pash, pash. And I always thought, oh, that's for the ending of like a vaudeville show or something. But no, he's right. Nick White, I've seen him grow up from a little kid into this really fantastic and educated collector. He presents shows. He does presentations about sound effects. What are they, mostly Leedy or
No, they're all Walbert, Ludwig and Ludwig, but he's got one of the biggest sound effect collections around.
It's amazing,
and he knows how to play them, and that's the key. We all own sound effects, but how do you play those things?
Tim's got some good that you saw in the earlier segments, but he's going to show you some today as we go along. But for right now,
let's see what else we have. We're going to do trap kits. Oh, here's some. Here's a case.
This kills me. Where do you see this? Now this is your display. This is in a case, right?
Yeah. In the museum, there's a glass case in the back filled with. These are all hand cymbals and offbeats and sound effects. You've got Baka da Box. You've got cowbells. You've got a Slingerland duplex afterbeat, which is extremely rare.
Folks, I got to tell you. Now he's doing it again. This is what he did in the other videos. I'm going to ask him he's just glancing over these extremely rare finds. Let's pin him down. You mentioned Baka da Box.
Baka da Box.
Look at all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, those are Gladstone
and
cymbals.
These are the ones that are really sought after, the larger ones, the Gladstone versions. But look at the condition they're in. Explain to any of those that don't know what a Baka da Box cymbal actually is.
I should have brought one with me. That I could have brought. But a Baka da Box is a hand cymbal, 2 nickel silver cymbals on a handle, and you can play them with your hand, like this in this motion, or you can play them with a stick, and you can really get a.
Now, does Nick do that?
Sure. Yeah, he does that. Same with the Frank Wolf cymbals. They're bigger, and Billy Gladstone designed those. And there's a great image of Chick Webb playing those. And in a lot of early Louis Armstrong songs, you can hear a Baka da Box as the only percussion being played.
How cool.
Big Sid Catlett played those.
Now, speaking of Louis Armstrong, this is interesting that he would say that, because I wonder if the player of those Baka da Box was Frank Biggs. Do you remember? And if you don't,
Louis, right?
Okay, but you know who it is?
Yeah.
If you don't remember Frank Biggs, go look up my video that I do with Batchko is his name. He discovered a CG Con drum that had the name Frank Biggs on it. He did all the history on it. Turns out Frank Biggs played with Louis Armstrong, and I don't know if it was the Fantastic 7 or 5 or whatever. Yeah. But speaking of playing Baka da Box, I wonder if that was Frank Biggs. But do you know who it was?
Big Sid Catlett was one of the guys.
Okay, Big Sid Catlett. We're familiar with that name.
They played those, and there's a Slingerland Duncan pedal in here. There's snowshoe pedals. There's just a lot of.
Hate to stop you again, but look down here, folks. He mentioned a Duncan we call it a sock
Well, there's
cymbal.
one here and then there's one over here.
Okay.
There's
He's
two.
got, does he have both versions?
No, I don't. I just have the one version with the solid pedal.
Okay. But there were two versions. I had one that ended up in the Dave Brown collection over in England. There were two versions. Both of these are the cast versions. They're earlier, okay? And they're literally made with plumber's fittings. Plumbing.
Sure.
Some guys used to actually make them themselves, a version of it themselves out of
I have some news.
news flash, folks.
I have found a Ludwig prototype version of that.
With the plumbing.
Yeah.
Ah!
But I thought mine was the only one. Somebody made it out of parts, but then I found two more out in the market, that people own. So they did experiment with making those.
Timmy too for.
So I only have one. I have one, but it's real, and so Ludwig.
So
actually
would that have this logo on it?
It has no. It's a Ludwig bass drum pedal, 1923 one I think, but they used the pedal and they made it up exactly like that.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
I got you.
But all the plumbing parts, but it's got Ludwig original paint.
I see.
So it actually was made at the factory.
I mean,
we believe
these were very rare, but they're showing up now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's a second version, and that's the one I had, and it looked more Wahlberg and Auger-ish. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It had a skeleton pedal on it. We don't really have a skeleton pedal in the picture, but
we can find one.
well, we're gonna have one on here. But so we've covered the back of the box. See, notice how I'm not letting him flash through this back of the box. Now, talk about this ultra rare piece right here.
What is it?
What's the name of it again?
It was in the first Slingerland catalog, 1928, and it's made by Duplex. So Slingerland, when they went into business in 1928, they kind of had some, they pulled other products. They just got in the drum business. They started making drums, but they didn't have any hardware, so they used Duplex and Wahlberg and Auger, and they put all that stuff in their catalog. But so did Ludwig and Leedy. They all used Wahlberg and Auger hardware. Well, this was made by Duplex, and it was at that time the Charleston had come out, and everybody was looking for that boom chick, boom chick, boom chick, boom chick thing. So everybody wanted that afterbeat because there wasn't a hi-hat really much before that. Back to the snowshoe pedal was the first one.
Right here.
So this came around about the same time. Drummers were experimenting with afterbeats, and it's called the Duplex Afterbeat, and it's a pair of brushes mounted on the head on a pedal, and the head is a calfskin head, and it all folds up.
I believe we have video of Tim playing that.
And I explained.
But if you'll notice, one thing I noticed about the foot pedal, the actual footboard, doesn't look like your standard Duplex. This more resembles, to me, a Barry pedal.
It's weird. Even the heel plate comes way out. It's just a real strange thing. But it's extremely rare.
It's in great condition too.
John Aldridge said, "I've seen one other one, two maybe at the most. So it's a one of three or so."
You all know that name, John Aldridge.
Yeah.
I call him pretty much the father of our generation. Okay, he and Rob Cook and all that, but. That's another story.
So that's the type of thing that I really go after for the museum, is things that are of this period and that are ultra rare, that there are only a few known. And, some more may pop up over time.
Is this a Fraser pedal?
No,
it's a wooden.
This one right here is iron.
Okay.
And that's a whale tail pedal, and it was I can't remember the exact name of that one. I have to look it up, but it's got one side plays the bass drum, one side plays the cymbal, and then you can play both, and you play both the bass drum and the cymbal, and it's all made of cast iron.
Now, where'd you get that? Can you remember?
No, I can't actually.
I don't believe them.
When you start buying this stuff over a 10 or 20, 30-year period,
look here. What do we have?
Those are Sonar hand cymbals. They actually mount to a bass drum. And they're, everybody was looking for a cymbal type mechanism because this was all hi-hat, pre-hi-hat. So they were looking for that sound. This is a duplex. This is in the Slingerland catalog, same time as this. 2 cymbals mounted together on a swivel thing, and you play them. And I've got lots of versions of that.
I see that.
I really go after and collect things that were pre-hi-hat or in that hi-hat time, that mounted cymbals.
We've got some Greco cymbals
There's some
here,
Gricos
right?
there, yep.
And he's got various, Chinese toms, but these are good examples.
Well, I like the ones that are actually signed Ludwig or Leedy, because
Right.
then you know they came from that company.
This particular Ludwig decal was used in that era. Then I don't know what they switched to after that, but pretty cool. Now, all this stuff you can see at the museum. We're just looking at one case, one glass display case. Now, Tim's going to show us something else. A lot of this stuff he just flashed by in our other videos, and now we're purposely trying to, zoom in on certain things that are in those cases.
So, well, here's an overshot of one of the rooms as you walk back in the museum before you go. This is the trap room back here, where all those traps are held in a glass case. Here are some engraved snare drums, and both new and old. I've got some the Ludwig 100th anniversary Black Beauties in there.
Nice.
More trap kits. That's a different Moonlight silhouette that no one's ever
something?
seen. I've never seen that.
Two.
No, there isn't two, because that's a different one. The moon is behind them.
I know.
And that's on a 24-inch Ludwig Tango drum. It's a great drum, a Tango bass drum, 8 by 8
Yeah,
or 10
they were
by
thinner,
24.
right?
Yeah, narrow little things.
What
Beautiful.
was it, 12 inches, or what was it?
10,
Okay.
maybe 10 or 12. No, it's probably 10. And it's got a great silhouette, and it's a mahogany shell. But the Moonlight silhouette on that one is really great.
Now down here's an example of an early pedal.
That's an overhang pedal.
Yep.
And
How
that's
cool.
Leedy. So that's one of the first pedals. We have 2 of those as well. We do.
Now, the only other place I've seen one similar to that is in the William F. Ludwig Jr. collection. He, in his VHS videos with Rob Cook, he gives an example of that. Very rare. Just ridiculous. Just some of the things you can see at the museum. I'm telling you, book your appointments now, because he's going to get full. This is
Here's
amazing.
a great shot of the case with everybody collect. We love to collect pedals, but there's the sound effects over here. We haven't gotten to those yet, but
okay.
I don't know if I have a clear shot of those. But this is back in the track. So we have more painted heads.
Clipper ship.
That's a Leedy. That's a Ludwig. Now that's on Ludwig Gold. That's on a Ludwig Gold bass drum, and that is a really mint.
It really, folks,
lake scene.
I can see it really good on this screen, and it is. I've seen many of the mountain lake scene. There's some different versions of it, but this one in particular is very clear, mint condition.
There's the photo of Chick Webb playing the Gladstone Symphony.
Okay, we're going to show you a better shot of that, but
Yeah.
fantastic. This whole museum is laid out for you to play the sets.
Right. So see this set? This is all set up. Sit right down. Bring your video camera. Set it over there and play. They're all tuned up. Sometimes I have to tune the calf heads before.
How many museums have you been to where there are signs all over the place? Please do not touch. Please, hands off. No,
we encourage
he even has a stick. This is even better than going to Guitar Center, where they take the sticks away. They hide them. He's got the sticks right here on the snare drum. Go ahead, play them. Tim, there's no museum like this. You've really succeeded at your objective, and as we go along here, I think the people are going to be clamoring, folks. I mean, I know you guys out there are salivating, but they're going to be clamoring to take a little vacation up to Oneonta, New York. What else do we have here? This is a different
just another
angle.
shot of that room, but that's so this set is there's a great story behind this set. I wish I could get to the picture of the guy, but I bought this set from our friend Richard
Kalinsky?
No, Rich King.
Oh, Rich King.
So Richard King,
I don't know where he gets this stuff, but yes.
he came up with this set from the original owner. I think he had died, but he bought it from his children or his wife. And this set, I have a photo of the kid standing behind the set the day that he got it. I have the sales receipt for this set. And I just wrote an article about this set for Modern Drummer magazine. It was in October's issue.
Okay,
maybe?
we'll show you a shot of that.
Yep, and so we'll show you a shot of the kid too. But it's everything that he had with the set is on the invoice, and I have it all. Temple blocks. It's one of the most complete with provenance trap kits I have, and it's a Leedy kit with the windmill seam.
What year was on it? Was there a
He
date
bought
on
it in 1936. So in 1936 they were still selling these trap kits. There's proof.
For? Can you?
$166, which is about $3,000 in today's money. Probably today's money more like $4,000 because inflation's rampant. But yeah, and it's all listed out. Everything you got.
Look at this. Look at this. How he puts the information on a little plaque. It's a real museum, folks. This is a pawn shop for all you 20s, 30s, 40s collectors. You've got to book an appointment. I'm going to do it, so you should do it too. You'll love it. We can all play, share our videos. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I see pedal heaven here.
A lot of early pedals, and all the way through, there's a lot of Speed Kings and just kind of everything.
Yeah.
Cowbells.
Now, these in particular, when they're nested.
I like nested bells. I've got several sets of these.
I see. Okay.
And I did a video of playing a fan of cowbells.
Oh, yeah.
A Ludwig fan.
Yeah,
I
think
I
we
like
have
those
that.
ratchets and.
I had this.
A lot of spring holders.
That went to Joe Meckler.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because as he's showing these pictures, you're going to see a lot of the things you remember from my collection. And we'll point that out for you. Again, very proud to have them in here.
In this shot, you can kind of see some of the whistles. We have actually a pretty good collection of wooden train whistles, steamship whistles, castanets, temple blocks, bird whistles, bird calls. We have sets of those. We actually have sets of bird calls.
We have ratchets back here.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you. You've got more than the average bear when it comes to sound effects. But I'm going to say the king is Nick White.
Nick White. Yeah, Nick White's the king.
What is the one thing that you have that Nick would like to have in his collection?
The Ludwig and Ludwig Sure Shot machine, which is an aluminum. Bill Ludwig's got one. I think he's the only one we know that has.
He's the only other one that you've seen,
and
right?
you put 16 blank cartridges in it, close it up, and you hit it with a hammer. It was for gunfights in Western times. And you close it up and you hit it with a hammer, and it basically fires a cartridge, blank. And
Nick doesn't have one.
No, he does not have one.
No. The Northup Sessions, you don't want to miss it. We're going to be presenting many, many segments of the museum. Stick around because we'll be right back with more entertainment for you.